The S&P 500 is still sitting very close near all-time highs. And this morning when the CPI data came out, stocks came crashing lower. However, was this nothing more than a trap, or is the real trap right around the corner? Now, we come over and look at the fear and greed index. Once again, we are back in the fear territory. We closed out here yesterday, we're in neutral, and now we're just barely inching back over into fear. Now, as we come over and look at how the indices fared across the board today, the Dow was down 225 points. The NASDAQ was up 6 points. S&P 500 down 16.5 points, with the Russell 2000 being down 2. Now, look at advancing issues versus declining. We had 62.7% of issues declining on the day. Then when we come over and we look at the sectors across the board, only 2 sectors were in the green, and not by a whole lot. We had consumer defensives leading the way, up 0.2, and then we had communication services up 0.06. Everything else was in the red. And look at energy today, absolutely getting destroyed out here. And as we look at a chart of crude oil, we can see crude oil coming right back down, and we're going to see, will the swing point hold? Could this set up a potential double bottom pattern? However, something that caught a lot of traders off guard today was the CPI report, which when we look at this graph right here, does not look like inflation is under control and that inflation is actually starting to get better. And now we have problems that the Fed is even going to be more cautious about inflation after the CPI report, which means it may be even longer before the Fed can actually come out here and start cutting rates. We look right here, hot inflation report, rises treasury yields, warns the market's bull run could be in trouble. Now, if we come over here real quick and we look today, this morning, when we've seen the CPI data come out, we look at the dollar index, and it doesn't look like much on that chart right there. But when we had the CPI report come out, we've seen the dollar index come rallying on the way up. However, from that point on, the dollar index really gave up a lot of its gains. And also, not only was the dollar on the move up, but also take a look at the 10-year yield. 10-year yield again today have a very strong push on the way up. As yields start to rise, that is going to be a headwind for stocks. Trump has already said that he wants lower interest rates and tariffs. However, that could backfire. Now, think about this. When tariffs are going up, is that going to be good or bad for inflation? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Now, when we actually look at the CPI data numbers that came out, look at the core CPI today. Came in at 0.4. It was forecasted to come in at 0.3, which still was a rise from the prior reading at 0.2. CPI month over month came in at 0.5, expected to come in at 0.3, which was still above the prior reading of 0.4. Then we look at year over year, inflation at 3.0 versus the last reading at 2.9 with an expectation of 2.9. And once again, we had Powell testifying today. However, tomorrow, could it be a yin and yang effect? Is it the fact that the CPI got stocks moving lower today? And will PPI actually get stocks moving back up? Keep in mind, we also have the weekly unemployment claims. Then on Friday, we're going to have the retail sales numbers coming out. So let's dive into the charts. What is likely going to occur from here? First, I want to start off looking at the Dow. Notice we've had this strong run on the way up. Now, we had a little bit of a pullback. We were unable to hit the 38% retracement. And now we kind of had this upper level consolidation. But now we're starting to see the Dow starting to roll over here just a bit. And notice the second high is lower than the first high. That is one warning sign to pay attention to. Then we look at the Russell 2000, the small caps. Russell 2000 well off the lows today, but something we talked about this morning on the live stream. And if you guys don't want to miss the next time I go live, make sure you're subscribed and you have the bell notifications turned on for all. Today, we gave out the second 50K Take Profit Trader account. If you guys want a chance to win, then you want to make sure you don't miss the live streams. But notice today, all right, we had a gap down today. We had a gap down yesterday. Now, if indeed we do gap down tomorrow as well, that would be 3 consecutive gap lower. And I do think the market is really trying to work on, at minimum, fill in the recent gap, meaning the gap from today. I think highly probable will get filled out here in the near future. Now, before we look at the S&P real quick, let's go back over and take a look at the dollar index. I want you guys to notice basically a candle of indecision, wick on the top, wick on the bottom, and kind of a small body candle. However, the MACD indicator is flat near the zero line, which means we could be charging up for the next leg. Is it going to be higher or is it going to be lower? We are about to find out. And with the moves in the dollar, we also seen gold today was down at one point roughly 42 points or so, then closing back up, only being down 7 points on the session. Keep in mind, right up here is all-time highs for gold, and gold does have this gap a little bit lower. Now I want to make everybody aware, Apex right now having 80% off all their evaluation accounts. Take Profit Trader 50% off. Use the link in the description box down below. And My Fun and Futures save 25% off the 50K, 100K, and 150K expert plans. Use the links in the description box down below. It's a way for you guys to support the channel at no additional cost. Then we jump over and take a look at the SPY real quick in the S&P. We can see we had a case where we have a high, lower high once again, and then we have a low, lower low, and we're going to see, does this end up forming a higher low? If so, that could form an ABC pattern with what could already be an ABC pattern on the way up. And what I mean by this is, if we measure from this leg down here all the way up to the high, down towards the low, we can see we get an ABC price projection up here at about 626.26. Then if today's low ends up being the low, that could set up another ABC pattern, which takes us right around the same general area. Now, when we come back over and we look at the futures markets real quick on the 4-hour chart, what do we have going on here? We can see we have this ugly mess, and you can see we're spending a lot of time right around this high volume area within the profile, and we've already been below last week's value area low. We've come back up. We have still yet to make it all the way up towards value area high, which could be in the cards in the very near future. And we also have the point of control right here off the composite profile, slightly above where we're at. So it's going to be interesting to see how this week's profile actually shapes up. So far this week, we've had an 84-point range. Then we come over and start looking at the daily profiles real quick. There's that CPI dump that we had. And on the live stream, we had some good moves on the way back up. But now the question is, we've had this push up, and notice we're closing near value area high. We're not there yet. And the question is, are we going to be able to break above value area high and hold, or are we simply going to come back down? Something I do want to pay attention to for tonight. If we start breaking above value area high, then we start coming down, I then want to target that point of control. However, keep in mind, anytime we have a large candle, that could be a large candle on the way up or on the way down. In this case, a large candle down. Once we start getting above 50% of that candle, it really increases the probabilities that we're going to come back and try to retest that whole entire candle, which could be anywhere from the candle body up here, about 6,092.75 to about 6,098. And if we start getting above the high of that candle, then we really got to be on the lookout for, are we about to break out this level and start really pushing on the way back up, which could set up a much larger ABC pattern on the way up. And that would go something like this. The A to B leg, the B to C leg is a corrective leg, and that would give us a price completion up here about 6,200. Now, I know everybody thinks the market's going to go down, and yes, the market may indeed go down, but who is trapped? Is it the lower level shorts today, or if we push up through all-time highs, is that going to be the major trapping the bulls, which really gives us a nasty style correction like we saw back in the early 2000s or even 2008. Now, let's not forget, right now, we're still in earnings season. After the bell, we have Reddit, we have Robinhood, just to name a few. Then tomorrow before the bell, we have Datadog coming out, Crocs, and John Deere. And if we look at the big expected movers, right now, Reddit, after the bell, expected to move plus or minus 16 to 17%. Hood expected to move plus or minus 13%. If we look at Reddit after hours, yikes, down 13% after hour. Then we come over and we take a look at Robinhood after hours, actually up 5.71%. You see this blue horizontal line. So Robinhood having a favorable reaction to earnings. Reddit, not so much. Now we come over and start looking at the QQQs real quick. Notice the Qs gapping lower today, then closing in the upper portion of the range. Are we getting ready for a late week rally? And look at the MACD indicator, basically crossed to the bull side, trying to edge on up higher. However, it's not a very strong push at this moment. On the 4-hour chart, MACD indicator just basically flatlined out. We have this consolidation that we're currently in. Then on the 30-minute chart, not a huge edge out here on the MACD indicator. Look at the range today, a large gap down. We came all the way back up. Now I'm going to classify this as a P as in Paul. And what I mean by this is if we start breaking above value area high, I expect the market to go ahead and continue higher. However, if we do break value area low, watch out for the lower third of the range to be tested and potentially flush all the way through the lows. One area I will want to watch tomorrow is going to be right in this zone right here, anywhere from about 526.73 up to about 527.29. Now we come over and look at the futures markets real quick on the 4-hour chart. Notice one high, two high, and we're just kind of hovering near these highs, which makes me believe in the very near future, we are getting ready to bust above these recent highs. The more times we hit our head on a specific price point, the more likely that level is getting ready to give way. Then as we come over and start looking at the daily profiles real quick, here's the ABC pattern, which we still have not hit. We drew this pattern out on the live stream. Now, the upper part of that range could be about 21,905.58, which completes the ABC target. However, in the short term, do we start to fall back a little bit and potentially start to come in towards this minus development area? Now, the way I'd like to zone this out is really going to be on the 30-minute chart right here. If you look at this candle wick, right up here to the candle body, right in that zone would be an area I would like to see the market come back towards. However, I'd prefer to see, can we break above that high and then potentially rotate lower, hitting the point of control, anything below the point of control, then I want to go ahead and look for a retest of that zone. Keep in mind, tomorrow we have the PPI data coming out, which could be a huge market moving event. Now, if we do break above value area high and we can stay above it, then that's when I want to turn my attention towards 21,905.58. And if you really look from value area high right up here towards that 100% level, that's going to be about 67 points. Now, if you want to learn what happens after you pass a take profit trader evaluation, make sure to watch this video right here.